Hey everyone, Sleepy Reader here with perhaps the vaguest yet of my sleepy vlogs. I was just thinking as I was reading or finishing up reading an issue of Thor number 12, by Jason Aaron and someone Klein, Nick Klein, I think? Nick Klein. It's a kind of in between story arcs Thor, where sort of exploring in various ways our modern version of Thor's relationship with Earth and a little bit of the young Thor and the thousands of years from now Odin looking Thor's relationship with Earth. It's a really good issue, and it even brought a tear to my eye with the sequence with Jane Foster, and generally kind of brought up almost an emotional response, which is kind of an unusual experience for me in my experience of reading Thor. That's, when it's good, it's been sort of cosmic, wow, cool stuff. But this really gives us kind of an emotional story, very effective. I'm very, very impressed with Jason Aaron being able to do that with this character. And it worked on me on some other levels of my meta, old comic book reader kind of response to things. Which, part of it is as comic books have grown up and become more grown up, they find all kinds of different ways to be more realistic, to touch our real lives more. But here is a literal god who comes to Earth and hangs out. And like in the opening sequence, this woman who he's probably going to bed shortly, asks him, why come down to, this is in the opening sequence was in, the medieval ages Thor, visiting the Vikings. Why come down to this pigsty of a planet when you can hang out in heaven all the time? And the answer is very good and everything. But if I were one of those Vikings, to see a god kind of walking around, enjoying life on our planet, then zooming off, I would be very bitter. And there were other scenes like that. So it made me think of Lex Luthor, who hates Superman for making humans seem small. I wonder if that would, if I examine the reality of superheroes too much, if that's what us humans, if that's our main response to them would be to superheroes of the extreme level, and certainly to ones like Thor that live forever and just get all the good things. They get the hottest chicks, they get to drink, they get to have adventures, they get to explore the whole cosmos, come back, show us a fruit from another planet just before we die. Very nice of him to do that, but it also underlines our smallness. That's always a great thing that science fiction can do, is show us how small we are in the universe. So it's a great thing. I'm not putting down the comic book. I'm just following the lines of thinking too realistically about these things. It was very powerful the way Jason Aaron played that with the whole issues of Jane Foster and her health issues and environmental issues. And then I'm getting off track of what the points I really want to make, but then at the end, it shows us, a far future Earth, spoiler here, but that looks like maybe it's almost entirely decimated and uninhabitable. I'm not sure if that's entirely true because we only see a little bit of Earth. But so it implies that for all that Thor cares about Earth, ultimately Earth is doomed anyway, and Thor goes on. Maybe it does apply to what I'm worrying about. It kind of rubs it in even further. We're going to be all gone, our civilization's gone, and Thor and the likes of him will still be going. He has this, so it's cool on one level, he has this emotional attachment to us, even though we're like little ants whose lives fly past him. And it makes this issue makes Thor a much deeper, richer, emotional, complex character. He's not just about the drinking and the I will smite thee stuff, but they don't forget about that side of him in here. But what it also brings to mind is I had this flashing moment of maybe I need to move on from superhero comic books, because in the end it doesn't make sense if you start looking at the reality of it and the emotions of it. I'm just fiddling with my new car here. It doesn't entirely make sense as a reader. Like, how do you connect with superheroes? It works as on the childish level. You think of yourself as Thor, but an issue like this reminds you you are not Thor. You're nothing like Thor. You can have nothing that Thor has. And I don't do, as an adult, is that useful? It's sort of telling me, don't read Thor. Read something about something that's about someone like you. It'll pass, believe me. I've been reading fantasy and science fiction and comic books and everything like that all my life. But I just thought it's interesting how, as things push towards reality and you try to treat things more and more grown up, does it reach a point where it makes you say, well, why even do these fantasy things? Do they belong in childhood? Even if it's a very sophisticated reflection on childhood, I guess, it's still somehow related to childhood, and it can move entirely into a grown-up, just realistic view of, we have a short time here, we can do a few things, but mostly we don't have a lot of power, and then we die, and we hope that the generations after us, continue to move things forward for the human race or something. If we're optimistic, that's kind of our view. Or we go to heaven, I suppose. But I'm not going to consider that. There's so many ideas about heaven and whether or not you believe in it, and whether or not I believe in it. What I would like to believe in. So yeah, I wish I hadn't even brought that part of it up. But anyway, so that's just my feeling of the moment of kind of, is this something that I can carry on with? And I know it is. I just had that momentary feeling. And you might sometimes have to just take breaks from fantasy. You need fantasy in your life at some point, and there are other points where you just don't need it for a while. Or you want to read just some straight real life drama or real life slice of life, and that's that. This Thor is a slice of life issue, but it's a slice of life with fantasy, which, again, and then I say that it's amazing how well he does this, and I really love this kind of thing on one level. It's funny how on another level it makes me question whether I should read comic books. If you're not reading Thor, I'd say get it in trades, and given how expensive Marvel Comics are, that would be a great way to get it. And hopefully this will be in the next trade that comes out, and not dropped out. I get my more expensive Marvel Comics late so that I can get them cheaper through my subscription. So anyway, talk to you all later. Bye-bye.